everyone is doing well. Tell me what's going on, right? The real estate world is just very unsettled at the moment. And we still see some things happening with the commission situation. We saw the Department of Justice the court allowed them to reopen the investigation against NAR, so that's interesting. We saw Real settle one of the commission lawsuits today. So a lot still happening and brewing around that. I have some good nuggets to share with you today about some hopefully changes that could happen as a result of the settlement and potentially how we could get buyers to pay for their commission. So I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. But the takeaway is, and what I have for you today is, if you do not do this, I believe you will be out of business. And the shift is happening. So much change is happening so quickly. Earlier today, I did a podcast with Glenda Baker. And Glenda Baker she's a real estate broker in Atlanta, and she has a massive following on all the socials. She's just a phenomenal thought leader as well. And we podcasted, and one of the things that she said to me was that we've never seen change coming this quick in our industry. And I believe it. I see it. I feel it. I know we're all feeling it. So I'm glad you're here with me today. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Here's what we got going on. So I really believe that if you don't do this one thing, you will be out of business. I'm going to get to that here in just a moment. But first, I wanted to go through some findings that just came out in this very new report. This report just came out from the Consumer Federation of America, and I kind of have a bitter taste in my mouth against these folks, to be real, because these are also the folks that were real bullish on getting our commissions, getting a structural change in the way we're paid accomplished. They definitely think that realtors are overpaid. If you read some of their other reports, they think there's too many of us, and just kind of have a little bit of a negative sentiment towards the Consumer Federation of America. But that being said, I think that even though they've been a fan of getting commissions lowered and all of that, they have some findings in this report that are worth noting, because now we find ourselves in a time and space where buyer agency is changing and the way buyer brokers are paid is changing. And because of that, what we know is that this impacts the marginalized, the first-time home buyers, the FHA, the VA buyers. It definitely impacts them disproportionately to the remainder of the buyers. And this report highlighted some of that. And so I wanted to share it with you and share with you what the Consumer Federation of America is proposing, because I do think that we need some fundamental change in the event that this settlement gets approved, go unrepresented or pay on their own. And so I wanted to just kind of share with you some excerpts from this report. So here's something that they said. A major defense of the industry has been that shifting the cost of compensating buyers' agents from sellers to buyers will disadvantage many first-time home buyers. The National Association of Realtors and some other industry leaders argue that requiring buyers to compensate their own agents will greatly increase buyer closing costs, restricting opportunities for renters and non-owners living with their families to own a home. They add that uncoupling would disproportionately harm buyers of color, notably Black and Hispanic households who often have little wealth or access to it from their families and have had to contend with discriminatory housing policies and practices. So that's a lot right there. But I do believe that where we're headed will have unintended consequences on these first-time home buyers, on marginalized home buyers. I really do believe that. And so I think that that's true. So here's something else that they noted. It would be perfectly sensible to permit buyers to finance their commission through their mortgage if they choose, paid out of the proceeds at closing. Such a solution would reduce the upfront closing costs that buyers need to have available in cash, which is what most critics of decoupling have focused on. Today, most buyers do not have the option to explicitly include buyer agent commission in their mortgages. Loans supported by federal agencies and the GSEs, which comprise a large majority of all loans made to first-time homebuyers, either prohibit or limit this inclusion, or would increase loan-to-value ratios that already average 95% for these buyers. So what they're saying here is that if the buyer could finance the commissions, this would be a sensible way forward. However, under current lending guidelines, what we know is that it is unlikely that they're going to be able to do so. And in some cases, it's not even allowed, right? We know that VA doesn't even allow it. And so again, I believe this is very important for us going forward if the settlement gets approved, because something has to be done. Here's something else that they reported. The extent of buyer agent willingness to be flexible on compensation will have a strong effect on the number of buyers who bypass these agents and work directly with listing agents. In a more price competitive marketplace, the listing agents working as facilitators would find it difficult to charge seller and buyer a 5-6% commission in a double-ended sale. However, these sales would be less likely to occur, and buyer brokerage would more likely be preserved if buyers could easily finance agent compensation through mortgages that were no larger than current loans. Okay, so let's unpack a little bit. I do believe that in the event nothing changes as far as the financing of potential agent commissions, I do believe that it will have the effect where buyers probably will go to listing agents more often than not and bypass having representation on their side, which I think is terrible. I think it's terrible for buyers, especially the marginalized, the first-time home buyers. So here, what they're sharing is that impact would be lessened if buyers could finance their commission. They say regulators, realtors, lenders, and consumers and housing advocates who are committed to sustainable homeownership should work together to find practical solutions to this challenge. The GSEs and federal housing agencies in particular should make this issue a priority to greatly ease the transition to a new residential real estate marketplace. These government agencies should consider providing the following assistance. So here's their proposal. And their proposal is that we should allow home buyers to finance buyer agent commissions while also ensuring that buyers no longer pay these commissions in home sale prices. So one industry proposal would involve the GSEs and the housing agencies guaranteeing a loan amount that is 2.5% above any appraised value to the extent that those funds are used exclusively for the payment of non-recurring closing costs. We prefer 2%, but think this proposal merits serious consideration. So that's number one, which I agree, right? Like, this would solve the problem. We know that under current lending guidelines, first of all, for some programs, it's not even allowed, right? VA can't even do it. But for the other programs, then you're also working in that loan to value ratio. And by increasing the amount of that by 2.5% over appraisal, it would allow for a buyer to finance the fee for their buyer broker. So I actually, I can't believe I'm saying this about the Consumer Federation of America, because they've been so hard on us realtors, but this proposal makes some sense here. There's some teeth to this. So another thing that they recommend is provide greater financial assistance to HUD certified housing counseling agencies and first-time home buyer programs. These programs are now limited in scope, yet have the great benefit of providing impartial advice not influenced by the industry incentive to sell property. Government agencies should also explore reasonable fees charged for such programs to be included in mortgages to the degree such programs reduce lower lender risk that could limit or eliminate their net costs. So, I'm not sure about in your market. In our market, there have been several programs over the years that were grant programs that were, basically funded by HUD, and they really did spur first-time homebuyer activity. It was real prevalent back in like 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. There were just so many of them then. And since I've noticed here in our market that a lot of those programs are gone. So a program that would allow buyers some sort of financial assistance for purchasing a home could be a cool idea. All right, and then the third thing is commit to providing information to consumers, especially first-time home buyers, about how to deal with a changing residential real estate marketplace. State real estate regulators, which already distribute information to home buyers and sellers, can also play a useful role here. Okay, for that one, there has been so much misinformation coming out about, hey, now you're going to be able to save tens of thousands of dollars when you buy a home or sell a home. And it's just ridiculous, the information that is being distributed right now. So I actually agree. I think that, but here's the thing though, it's like what information is going to be disseminated. And I think that that's a wild card, but we do need good information. I heard this the other day when asked about buyer agency changes. And the reality is like what you'll end up paying for commissions is unlikely to change much. How you're going to pay that commission is what's really going to change. And we see that playing out now. What we know is that buyers are willing to pay a buyer agent commission. So I showed this research a few weeks ago. I'm showing it now just as a refresher. The question was posed by 1000 Watt. They did some research. They asked buyers, hey, if you're buying a home today and your budget was $500,000, how much would you be willing to pay for a real estate agent and for their services to guide you through the process? And what we see is that overwhelming majority would pay a commission. And keep in mind, this question was posed when, you can't finance this in, right? They're thinking that this is going to be a cost to close. And so 20% said that they would pay at least the equivalent of a 2.5% commission. 37% would pay the equivalent of a 2% commission. So I think it's just important that, we look through this report. I think it's important that we understand what's happening and that we advocate for these changes. I think that, in the event the settlement is approved, we're going to need some changes to the financing, to the government-sponsored entities are going to need to allow provisions for financing of these commissions. And I think that there are things that they can do during that will also help buyers. So for instance, like a lot of these cash buyer programs, right? Like when you see in your dashboard, the cash buyer program, that cash buyer program works for sellers. It works for buyers as well. It works for the sellers that are looking to buy a home. And then of course it works for buyers that are out there wanting to be competitive and compete in cash. But if you're a first-time home buyer, if you're going like FHA or you're going VA, these programs can be problematic because many times they consider that transaction a flip. And so I think that there's also some things that we can do going forward that can mitigate those circumstances so that more buyers can participate in not only the housing market by being able to finance a commission, but then also position themselves as cash buyers using a lot of these programs that, they were real hot and heavy when the market was crazy and they've waned a little bit, but I still think are just unbelievably cool programs for buyers. So a lot going on. I know, and I wanted to just distill it down quickly, share that with you because it's important. Here is the link to that report. We should be talking about this. We should be bringing this up. We should be sharing this with our local boards and advocating for changes because if not, what I really believe is going to happen is I really believe that realtors that don't shift their business to a listing-based business are going to be out of business if nothing else changes. And sadly, I don't want that to be us, right? I want you to be out there armed with the tools to build and amass your listing inventory, to be that top listing agent in your marketplace. And, obviously, I've been a proponent of this for many, many years. We created Zoodealio so that we could empower you to compete with the changing technology, the certainty, the convenience, the easy exits that a lot of people are looking to have right now. But now more than ever, it is so important that we shift our focus. And so today I have for you some ways that you can do that and some tidbits that you can arm yourself with to really be effective in this change, in this mission. Because let me tell you, there's going to be a whole lot of folks that are going to resist this. And there's going to be a whole lot of folks that are like the frog in the lukewarm water. And that water is just going to get slightly turned up, and before you know it, the frog is going to boil itself because it won't jump out because it doesn't see the threat coming. And it's imminent, it's here. And so I really believe that those of us that can shift and focus to sellers are going to be the ones that win. I've had a lot of thoughts lately around bundling. I think that bundling services is going to be so key. I think that we're going to see a whole new rise of different ways to accept compensation from sellers and buyers. And it's kind of exciting. It's like this fresh new world, and we are the creators of what's next. It's such a powerful time. I mean, you look at the way we've done things for decades and decades, right? And now we have this opportunity to change it. And we have this fresh landscape. It's truly a once in a generational opportunity that we all have at our fingertips. And I think that if you can shift your business, pivot to the listings, take that listing inventory, you will be insulated no matter what happens, right? No matter if, let's say the government sponsored entities and the federal housing regulators don't change they don't change and they don't allow buyers to finance commission. In that event, right, in the event that more buyers go unrepresented, and in the event that more buyers just go directly to the listing agent, you will be protected. So NAR, a couple things with NAR here, actually. So every month they publish a membership report, right? And they've been doing this for, oh my goodness, like eons. I go back and I look at that membership report. I pull it every single month. And when I went to pull it last night, as I was prepping for this call today, it was gone. NAR completely took away their reporting of monthly membership numbers. And I was shocked. In fact, I was enraged. I tried to chat with them, but they don't have chat at Sunday night at 9:00. So I tried to chat with them. It wasn't, chat wasn't working. So I sent them an email and I'm like, where did it go? And I started Googling the Realtor monthly membership report and found all these other sites that had linked to previous reports. And each one I clicked, gone, dead link. So NAR doesn't want us to know what the current membership count is. That's my takeaway, sadly. And the reason why is because it's probably going down. But I did email them. I asked them where it is and hopefully can get some transparency on that from NAR. But, so I pulled this up. It's their generational trends report, which is hot off the press. They do this a couple times a year. And I always love the insights that I get from them. And that's one of the things that I really do love about NAR is they give so much research on consumer behavior and so much insight into the inner workings of the real estate transaction from like that macro perspective. And so I love some of the research that they're doing. Again, I was just blown away that they took their membership reporting off of their site. I don't know. For me, that only signals one thing. That only signals that membership is probably declining and they don't want us to have that transparency. So it kind of irritated me. Nonetheless, I did peruse through the generational trends report and I wanted to look at the things I'm always looking at when it comes to sellers and selling their home. And what I love to uncover is what do sellers really want from their real estate agent? And what you're going to see here, the top one, and this has been top for a while, is to help sell the home within a specific time frame. So sellers want help selling a home within a specific time frame. It's the number one. It's that time matching equation. And I mentioned I was on a podcast with Glenda Baker this morning, and I asked her, and I kind of turn the tables anytime I do this when I'm on someone's podcast, is I turned the tables and I started asking her questions. And I asked her what she thought the future of real estate looked like for realtors and what they needed to do. And her things were transparency to the consumer, convenience to the consumer, and clarity. Transparency, convenience, and clarity. And I really look through that lens in all that we do here at Zoodealio on a daily basis. We call it the 3 C's. We call it the certainty, convenience, and cost effectiveness. And what we've uncovered on this journey is that the consumer really does like convenient and certain experiences. And you can see here from this research that NAR did is that sellers want help timing their move. And what a better way to help someone time their move than to bring them instant solutions that allow them to do just that, to pick their closing date, to be flexible on it, to shift it, to get a lease back. I mean, you are armed with tools that solve the number one thing sellers are looking for. Now, there's a cost to it, right? And sometimes that cost is too much. And once they see what that cost effectiveness will be, maybe they will shift that to a lower rung on the ladder. But nonetheless, you get to be armed with that tool to bring it to them. And then another thing that is consistently on this report, but has actually increased. Last report, it was at 11%, and this report, it's at 14%. And that is that sellers want help finding ways to fix the home up to sell it for more. These are two key things here. You also, I'm so excited for you because you have a way to solve this problem too. And I want to dive quickly and skin out the Cash Plus. I've got a really cool before and after to show you out of North Carolina on a property where we were able to do just that. We were able to help the seller time their move, and we were able to help the seller flip their own home, make tens of thousands of dollars more because they utilized this strategy. And that's with the Cash Plus. So one of the offers that you get returned in your dashboard is the Cash Plus, and you also get returned the Sell Now, Move Later offer. That is very similar to the Cash Plus. The biggest difference is that the Sell Now, Move Later offer provides that flexible month-to-month lease back for up to 12 months. There's a premium on the rent. We're really transparent about that. However, for the right individual, it can be a beautiful offer. So as I'm kind of digesting the Cash Plus, think through also this works very similar to the Sell Now, Move Later. So we're really hitting two birds with one stone with today's digest. Here's what I want to focus on. It gives them that time matching equation. With the Cash Plus, they can pick their close date. They can shift their close date. They can do a flexible lease back. They also can take advantage of our Flip Your Own Home strategy, the no out-of-pocket home improvement sale strategy. It is a way to help them find ways to fix up their home so it could sell for more. And it matters in this cash offer because the cash buyer partners with that seller so that when the home is brought to market, it can sell for the highest amount possible. Here's how the Cash Plus works. So what is returned is what we believe is full market value offer. Now, I mentioned this earlier today when Arthur said he had a new lead in his dashboard, and I said, hey, take a quick look at those, see if it is full market value. The Cash Plus and the Sell Now, Move Later offers, they are intended to be full market value offers. And this is how the program works. If the number is off, it is not going to do anyone any favors. If it's too high, it's not going to do the seller any favors. If it's too low, it's not going to do the seller any favors. And I'll explain more on that here in just a moment. But the way that we're able to bring the seller this Cash Plus program is through the reserve. That's the mechanism that allows this program to work. And what we do is we hold back a percentage of the seller's equity until the home sells on the open market to hedge against the offer amount. I'm going to get into that in just a little bit more here. And then the fees are very transparent with all of the offers in your Zoodealio platform. And for the Cash Plus, you're going to have a program fee and you're going to have agent commissions and resale closing costs. So as I mentioned, full market value cash offer. If you get an offer back and you do not believe that the offer amount is right, please let our offer team know. They will get with the buyer and do a manual underwriting of that property. Why is this so important? Well, here's why. Is because if the offer is too high, well, then what's going to happen when that home gets listed on the open market is it's not going to sell for that offer amount. And the delta will be deducted from their reserve. And if it's too low, if the offer amount's too low, well, then the seller's not going to get their full payout that they could have realized on that first payout. And so it's real important that this offer is full market value. We really try and get the offer right. Now, think through automated valuation models and think about how screwed we would be if the Zestimate was accurate. right? Like if all the seller had to do to know the value of their home was go on Zillow and see the Zestimate and that's the number, where would we come in with our expert advice and opinions and knowledge of all of the nuances of comparables? So my point is that these algorithms are automated. And so because of that, it's not always going to be accurate. So we do like that feedback. We've recently ran some updates to our algorithms that give us more freedom and flexibility per market to adjust the models. And so if we see a certain market that continually is coming in low or high, based on your feedback, we're able to tweak that. So it is important that you do communicate that with us. All right. The reserve. We talked a little bit about this a moment ago. The reserve is a portion of the seller's equity that is held back until the home is sold on the open market. It is a security instrument. It is a hedge, if you will. And the reserve is typically between 10% and 25%. It can be on the very low end when there are a plethora of comps that the home doesn't present much risk at all to the marketplace. It can be on the higher end if it's a $2-3 million home or if it's in a very low population density area. The beautiful thing about the Cash Plus offer is the buy box is really large. And so the buyer will purchase homes that are on acreage or are $2 or $3 million. And so it gives you a lot more freedom in sharing this program because it works on a lot of the properties that are out there. Okay, the program fees, I mentioned this. There is a program fee, it's 6%. There are agent commissions and resale closing costs of 7.5%. I'm going to unpack all of those and what they cover. So the 6% program fee covers the buyer's cost of capital. So keep in mind, buyers purchasing the home, they're laying that out in their cash, and they have a capital cost to that. It also is going to cover the interim fees to maintain the property. So property taxes, HOA fees, water, sewer, trash, electricity, all of that is going to be paid for by the buyer during that holding of the property. And so, the seller, as soon as they sell to the buyer, all these fees stop for them. They don't have to worry about any of this. It's all going to be paid for by the buyer, and it's part of the fee that they charge. Now, there's a 7.5% agent commissions and resale closing cost fee. This covers the listing broker's commission, so you. It also covers the buyer broker commission and closing costs on the resale. Okay, so here's a cool benefit to the Cash Plus offer is that the buyer is going to make this offer to your seller, and then if the seller accepts, they're going to use you to bring that home to the open market. So you get to keep the listing. I love this. When you're a top listing agent, having the inventory allows you to take more listings. In fact, we just had a Zoodealio member that put in their MLS description. They did a Cash Plus, and when they listed that home on the open market, they put in the MLS public description, ask me how you can trade in your home. And we got feedback from the member that based on that, they had a seller of 2 properties. One was like $800,000. One was, I believe, $1.2 million. A seller of 2 properties called them, reached out to them just based on that alone and got cash offers and is considering accepting 2 Cash Plus offers because of that. So wonderful story. In fact, I should bring that agent on the call to share with you how that went down because it was so cool to hear. But you get to keep the listing. You get to market that and use that to get more business. So very cool. Now, the way the commission skins out is you're paid 2% on the first sale. Then when the home is relisted, you're paid 4.5%, and the buyer likes to see 2.5% of that be offered to the buyer broker. Commissions are negotiable, guys. This is what is baked into the offer. However, it's negotiable. So you can negotiate these up or down. I'll share with you that occasionally we see agents take less to make a deal work. Occasionally. More often than not, though, we're seeing people charge more. So you can run your business how you would like. It is negotiable, though. So we like to kind of put that out there because these aren't set in stone. So you can go up or down on these. And it looks like I have, oh, hi, Denise. Glad to have you on today. Denise is with us from Tampa, Florida, and Denise is just a rock star in real estate. Been a Zoodealio member for quite a while, and you crush the Cash Plus, Denise. Glad to have you on. Okay, so here's something that Glenda Baker said, and I thought was so insightful. And this speaks to sellers that are looking for a way to improve the property condition before they sell it. And Glenda Baker said, I don't know if it's an Amazon Prime experience that buyers are looking for or if it's an HGTV expectation of condition. But now more than ever, I have to tell you, we are really seeing this high expectation of condition where it is bring my toothbrush, bring my suitcase, move right in. I have never seen anything like condition being the driver more than anything. I am seeing that it doesn't even matter how much you offset the price. If the condition is not perfect, crispy, shiny new penny, people are just taking a pass. And I've never seen that before. So I thought this was really insightful because we see it too. I'm sure you're seeing it in your market. And obviously, buyers are paying high prices, higher interest rates, and we know that affordability is in the crapper right now. And so we know that they're expecting more bang for their buck. And so the homes that are great, perfect condition are the homes that are selling. And so when you can bring this strategy to your sellers and you can give them a way where they can renovate and repair their home and make more money on the open market, why wouldn't we do that? Right? We do. And that's why you're here. So I'm excited for it. So quickly, I'm going to go through how the repair process works. So during the inspection process, the buyer or you potentially suggest repairs, but during the inspection period is where those repairs are proposed. And if the seller is in agreement to make repairs, it's negotiated during that inspection period. There's hard, costs to that, and they're all delineated out to that seller during that inspection period so that they can make that eyes wide open decision. I'm going to quickly skim through how the payouts work because I want us to all be clear on this because it is a structured sale. So it means that they get 2 payouts. So in the event the offer is $500,000, there's going to be that program fee, there's going to be the agent commissions and resale closing costs, and in this scenario, there's a 10% reserve. So the seller would receive on the first payout $382,500. Now, of course, less if they have a mortgage, if they have, outstanding HOA fees or anything like that, that will all come off as well. And if we do repairs, that dollar amount will come off as well. Okay. So that's how the first payout is calculated. And on the second payout, it really can only skin out one of 3 ways. And the first way is the house sells for the same amount as the offer that was made to the seller. So you list the home on the market and it sells for $500,000. And that was the same amount that the buyer purchased the property from your seller for. And in that scenario, all of the reserve is returned to the seller. So they're going to get back that $50,000. Second payout scenario would be if the house sells for less. Okay, so let's say in this scenario, the house sells for $10,000 less, sells for $490,000 when you list it on the open market. So that difference between the original offer amount and what it sold for on the open market is deducted from the reserve. So the remaining portion of the reserve would then be returned to the seller. In this scenario that you see on the screen, it would be $40,000. So the third way this can skin out is the home sells for more on the open market. So in this scenario, let's say the house sells for $510,000. And in that scenario, all of that, what we call upside, is returned to the seller along with the reserve. So their second payout would be $60,000. There are some pros and cons to the Cash Plus offer. So I think it's fun to take a quick look at those. It's full market value cash offer. It allows the seller to skip showings and stress. They can sell on their own timetable. They can use the flip their own home strategy. They can move out before those repairs are done. And they can also reap the reward for if that home sells for more on the open market. And so those are some of the pros. And there are cons. I mean, it's a structured sale. So there's 2 payouts. So they're not getting all of their money up front. There is an additional cost to choose this program. There's a program fee, and currently it's 6%. Their first payout may not be enough. That's also a con. And the home could sell for less on the open market, which it's deducted from that reserve. So keep that in mind. So there definitely are some cons to this. I do have a cool before and after to show you, and you're going to see me skip through a couple slides so I can show you that, but we'll get back to those. Okay, so here is a before and after of the Cash Plus with repairs. This was in North Carolina, and the home just looked a little tired on the outside. It just needed some cleaning up, some paint. Like most people, this seller was equity rich, cash poor, didn't have the funds to do it. So if they were going to list in its in its current condition, it'd go on the market just like this. It wasn't going to get anything done to it. And so the buyer was able to go in and really transform this cute little property in North Carolina and make it shine. They were able to put in new flooring, new paint. They put in a new kitchen, made it look fresh and just new. Looked super great after. You've got all new electrical outlets and all that great stuff too. They also redid the bathrooms in this home. So they went in and put in new bathrooms. So again, it just looked great after. Before, just kind of tired, lived in, that sort of thing, which is common. I mean, we see this often, right? And so then after, it just looked so wonderful. Now, there were some structural things then too here. Apparently the roof and some electrical not up to code, and that was all fixed too. But what I want to show you today is how it skinned out for the seller with the as-is value at $230,000. So if they had brought that home to market, that would have been that value. The repair cost that they invested was $65,000. Here's the cool thing. The home sold for $339,000 one day on the market, flew off the shelf. That was a value increase of $109,000. And ultimately, the seller took home an extra $43,000 because their agent brought them this cool strategy and showed them a way where they could sell their home on their own timetable and showed them a way where they could flip their own home, reap the reward of this. I'm guessing they were pretty happy, pretty pleased with the program and how it worked out for them. I want to leave you with 3 things that you can do this week to really shift your focus so that you remain positioned as the leader in your market. I'm going to recommend that you make a video this week. I'm going to recommend that you reach out to some folks this week, both from your database and on your Facebook. So here's a short form video that I highly recommend you record. Realtor.com came out with this new research that said, hey, if you sell your house between April 16th and April 22nd, you're going to make more money. And so it's great messaging for sellers. The script is right up here. It's simple. Mark your calendars. The best week to sell a home is coming up. According to Realtor.com, you can expect to make about $7,400 more if you list your home between April 16th through the 22nd. Pretty cool, right? Here's why. This week is expected to have 16.4% more buyers, but 9.3% fewer sellers than any average week of the year. If you're on the fence about making a move with the prime time nearing, it might be your moment to dive in. Let's connect. Simple script. Go record it, make this content, put it out there. I believe that video is one of the best mediums for you to build rapport and trust. So do that. Here is a script you can use for your database, piggybacking off of that same thing, piggybacking off of this Realtor.com report. It's hot, it's relevant, it ties into listings. Why wouldn't we send it out to our people? We shall. And here's a way that you can do it. And then also, I'm going to recommend that you go on to your Facebook, and I'm going to recommend that you send this message out to your Facebook friends. It's a great way to reconnect. It just reminds them that you're in real estate. It gives them an interesting tidbit about the housing market. And also, you can leave them that cash offer link so that if they want, they can just enter their address and get those cash offers right from you. All right, guys. So who's going to go out there and take action today? Who's going to go out there and make a video, send these messages out? Who is going to take action on this? I'm getting some yes, Me, Soledad, I love it. Richard, I love it. Get after it. Guys, this is our time to shine. Like, there's never been a moment in history like this one right now. You have an unbelievable ability to go out there and get your unfair share of the market. I promise. Everybody else is panicked, but you're prepared. You're taking direct action towards your future. I love it. All right. Thanks so much for being here. And I will be back with you not next Monday, the Monday after that. And as always, if you like my slides, hit me up. Happy to share them with you. Everybody have a fabulous week.